Alrighty, so the countdown is underway. Game 2 is starting. As I mentioned before, it's going to be on Xel-naga Caverns, and you'll be able to see that right now as it pops up on the screen. So, I'm curious to see how differently either player could potentially play on this map. I mean, it's a lot smaller map. You're not going to feel as safe to pull off a 1rex expand, especially on this map, out of all the maps in the pool. Simply because, obviously, it's a two-player map, your opponent knows exactly where you are, and you have all these openings to the expansion, which makes it very, very difficult to cover all the angles. So, if we look right up here in the green, getting their Christmas colours on early this year, we have CGFatal. And right down here, in the bottom left, we have RedArchon spawning as the Red Terran once again. So last game we did see RedArchon go for that 1rex expand, and as I mentioned before, it's going to be very difficult to protect a 1rex expand on this map with this path here, and of course the secret hallway path down here. And on top of that, there's also the threat of elevator attacks up here at the main, or just like standard siege attacks down here, which actually really limits the amount of real estate you can use when constructing your base. It's very difficult to move into the macro game in a turn versus turn on this map without sacrificing, or potentially sacrificing, buildings due to their placement. And of course there's always an opportunity for drops to happen over here. A Banshee can come right in here and start picking up SCVs. The reinforcements from the natural have to come all the way up into the ramp in this sort of fashion. So it's very difficult to cover all of your the area where you're going to be mining on this map if you do go for that fast expand. So, no early gas from Fatal this time. Of course, last time we did see him get that refinery before the barracks, but not this time. So it looks like he's going to be going for probably a standard opener. I'd say both players will probably go for the old traditional 14 gas, and just as I say that, we do see it going up for both players on the production tab. It's very, very standard, very, very safe. Nothing tricky, nothing crazy happening in this game yet. Alrighty. So does anyone know where CGFatal is from in the chat? Does anyone know anything about this guy? I didn't get a chance to look at the flag on the brackets, and I've already closed it, unfortunately. I'm pretty sure he's not Australian. I know that much. And of course, RedArchon being from Thailand. But as I mentioned in the last game, definitely does not need any introduction. He's definitely a favourite in pretty much most of the events that he competes in. Alrighty, so RedArchon does get that scouting SCV into the base of Fatal. He does discover that there is a gas, it is a standard opener, and a marine is about to pop out. And if we look at Fatal's vision, he has learned the exact same information from looking around RedArchon's base. So, no clear indication of what either player is looking for yet, although we do see Fatal actually just harvesting enough for a reactor, and then keeping the illusion up to continue harvesting gas while the SCV was in his base. And as soon as the SCV departed, he took all those SCVs off gas, he put a reactor down, and now he's getting a command center. So we're seeing a 1rex reactor expand from Fatal, and those SCVs actually now going back on gas. And meanwhile, down at Camp RedArchon, he's actually taking his second gas. He hasn't stopped harvesting gas at all through this game, and he has his factory on the way. So it looks like a very, very standard opener from RedArchon, and a very economic opening from Fatal, although he is supply capped at the moment. A little bit of a shame there, getting that reactor up and not being able to produce any SCVs or Marines. And there we go, not too much of a big impact. So we did see a bit of an SCV scuffle in the middle of the map. It looks like Fatal actually won that battle, as RedArchon's SCV is running away on 21 HP. And there's no... There's no injured SCVs on the map for Fatal, so maybe it died, but I don't know who got the kill. Wasn't any of these guys. Alrighty, so back in RedArchon's base we do have some further tech. He's putting a tech lab down on that factory, and of course this factory and starport will finish almost simultaneously so that he can lift up the factory, drop the starport on it, and start producing a Banshee. Now, that's a pretty decent guess, but having said that, I kind of retract it because, yeah, here we go. It's actually just going to be a Viking. He didn't have enough gas to produce Cloak, and so it was kind of like a delayed Banshee that wouldn't really have too much impact. So yeah, I immediately realized that he wasn't actually going to be going for a Banshee opening once I saw that. And actually, having said that, I think we're going to see a Raven pop out after this Viking, and a nicely timed scan from Fatal from that brand new orbital command, spotting all of the tech of RedArchon. He sees that there is a spare tech lab here. He sees that there's one being constructed on the factory. And he knows that it looks like a pretty standard tank marine Raven with a Viking for spotting, I guess, or maybe for countering a Banshee. That would be a little bit surprising. And, oh, actually going to be a Medivac. I swear he started producing a Raven and cancelled it. Not quite sure. Could have been a Viking. There we go, there's the siege mode in production. So back here in Fatal's base, he still hasn't moved that expansion down to the low ground, and he is well oversaturated up here in the main. And he's just started taking his second gas. Still not a lot happening besides these Marines and Hellions. If we look here, Stim is being researched, he's still producing Hellions, and there is one Medivac in production as well. And yet, still no command center being produced for RedArchon. So it could be a while before we see that expansion going up. Alright, these Hellions are going to be looking to poke out the ramp, and RedArchon's Marines are in a nice clump to be cleaned up by those Hellions. There we go, spreading them out a little bit, and closing up that wall with Splitey Bow as well. Good move there from RedArchon. So Fatal using the map control of these Marines and Hellions to successfully take this expansion. I think he might have got a little bit of a poke up the ramp there to see what RedArchon had waiting for him. Maybe, maybe not. But he knows at the very least that RedArchon has not taken an expansion, and he's not being aggressive at this point in time. Although, as I say that, RedArchon moving out onto the map, and these Hellions did sweep by the natural. They saw that army moving out, so he knows exactly what's coming at him. But can he hold it with just Marines and Hellions? I think there is... this is a Medivac actually, not a tank. So we're not going to be seeing any tanks from Fatal anytime soon. Just a Viking, Marines, Marauders, and Hellions. And, oh, looks like the Viking, or actually, no, that was actually the Medivac. Wow, the Medivac of Fatal being cleaned up by these three Vikings of RedArchon. That's actually going to play a pretty significant role in this game because there are no Hellions on the field for RedArchon. Therefore, he's not able to kill a large bunch of Marines in one sweep. He would have been relying on single target damage to take them down. Of course, that's a very effective role for the Medivac to fulfill. Now, RedArchon has a really, really good setup at the bottom of Fatal's ramp. He does have vision, courtesy of these three Vikings, and again, taking down another Viking for free. And these Marines are split up very, very nicely as well. So at this stage it looks like he might be in a position to take this for free, but wow, a really, really nice double flank from Fatal, pulling all these SCVs as well. They're not soaking any of the tank fire, unfortunately, but he does take one of the tanks out. The second one goes down, and it looks like he's going to be cleaning up the tank reasonably well. Although, these couple of Marines with the Medivac are doing pretty good. Can they kill this Marauder? No! Just picking out that Marine in time. And I would not be surprised if we see him drop it, focus that Marine, and pick it up again. Nope, actually wanting to save the life of that Marine. Now, something interesting happening here now for RedArchon is he has transitioned into those Banshees. And he, of course, does have Cloak on the way as well. And this is a really, really good move, right? Because he may have lost air dominance, well, not lost it, but the air dominance, you could say, is currently no one's. Since he did lose all of those Vikings in that engagement, I think he landed them. But he knows that there are no Vikings on the map for his opponent. So Banshees are going to be very, very, very effective. And especially useful in picking off those key units once he does get a good siege position at the bottom of the ramp. So Fatal did manage to recover the expansion. He didn't lose the command center, but just as I say that, RedArchon sieging up once again outside the expansion, just barely catching it. Look at that! Siege tank just getting the front door of that command center. Can't get any closer to that. These two Marines looking like they're going to come in and start poking at the SCVs. A really, really nice tank spread there. Landing his Viking, interestingly enough. I'm not quite sure what the story is with that. Looks like, yeah, I think Fatal's going to be in a good position to just clean up all of this. He can kind of just attack move right through it. These Marauders going to do huge damage to that tank, taking out in no time. And there we go. So if we just check the Harvesters lost, RedArchon has killed 15 SCVs during these engagements, whilst not losing a single one of his own, of course. And this is simply because in every single engagement, Fatal has been pulling about 10 to 12 SCVs to tank all the damage for his army. And meanwhile, oh, here we go, the first of the Cloak Banshees is on the map, so this is going to be pretty effective, I think. There is not a single missile turret on the map, there are no Ravens. And I think at about the time this Banshee arrives, we can expect to see a mule dropped by Fatal from this orbital right here. And any second now, is he going to drop it before the Banshee comes in? Oh, here we go, he's got it selected. Nope, just making an SCV. Okay, so it looks like even if he did use out that mule, the command center in the main is going to have a scan available, but here's the problem, there is only 2 Marines here. The rest of them are all the way across the map. We see them turning around immediately to deal with this Banshee. He stims, even his Marauder's stimming to run after this Banshee, and then realizing that it actually has clue. So it's waiting for those Marines to get there from the middle of the map. And of course, RedArchon has taken this opportunity to expand and get quite the economy happening. 12 kills on this Banshee so far, cleaning up almost all the SCVs at the natural, and a missile turret does go up in the main. This Banshee needs to be careful, pull back, there we go. Almost losing that Banshee there. And I think we're going to see the scan that ends this Banshee in just a moment. No? He does have... Oh, and he completely wasted that scan. The second Banshee almost getting itself killed as it rallies right through the Marines. There is still no turret at the natural though, and whoa! That Banshee flying in between 2 patches of Marines. Not where you want to be. And I think this one's going to be okay for a while because, yeah, there's just not enough energy for a scan anytime soon. The spiking is out, and there will be a scan coming in about 5 to 10 seconds. That should be the end of this Banshee. Can he get the CV? Whoa! This one just sneaks into the geyser. Can he do it again? Oh! Wow! He actually took damage from the first missile, but not the second one for the Banshee, interestingly enough. Kind of very, very interesting how that SCV survived that attack. You don't see that very often. Down here at RedArchon's base, he has been macroing like crazy amongst all this. He's taken a supply lead, sitting at 102 against the 94 of Fatal. And if you look at those workers killed, it is now 36 SCVs killed by RedArchon against a single one from Fatal. So RedArchon in a pretty good commanding lead at this stage. However, these Marines and Marauders do have +1 armor and +1 weapons. Meanwhile, RedArchon has no upgrades at all on his tanks or Marines. He doesn't even have combat shield yet, although it is being researched. So we can expect to see that pretty soon. Now, just to remind you guys, Fatal is already up in this series 1-0. If he takes this set, or this game I should say, he'll be knocking RedArchon out of the event and moving on to the next round. So I think at this stage he should just try and play out for the long game. Do a lot of... Oh, just as I say that, we see a big drop moving over towards the main base of RedArchon. I was going to say, do a lot of damage to the production facilities of RedArchon, try and get that lead back into the game and take a third base, but it looks like we're going to see exactly that. As these tanks are all out of position, there's no way they can get up that ramp, although these Stim Marines are looking pretty scary. The Hellions are tanking the damage, not what you want. And it looks like he's going to deflect that pretty easily, actually picking off the Medivac at the same time, but oh man, Fatal, you don't want to do this! Looking for a bit of a sneaky flank there, but running right into all those tanks. Okay, so a third base going down for Fatal, but not quite getting the control that he was looking for. This Marine Marauder army very, very mobile, but unfortunately it just does not have the ability to break this wall, although not much of a wall anymore, as RedArchon looks like he's gearing up to move across the map, and this army's looking really scary. He stims a few Marines forwards, catches sight of the fleeing army of Fatal, and it looks like RedArchon is going to go for the kill here. Although, just as I say that, another command center in production. And RedArchon actually destroying his opponent's rocks. I wonder what this is about. Maybe he wants to set up a planetary here? That would take a lot of guts, I think. Now we do see Fatal does have 2 tanks on the map, but they're not going to be much of a match for the huge tank count of RedArchon. Having said that, he did lose one during the initial engagement. One tank goes down for Fatal, the second one goes down. All of these Marines stimming in. They still don't have any... Oh, actually, just as I say that, he does have the +1 weapon upgrade, but he does suffer from not having the +1 armor, unlike his opponent Fatal. So there are only 2 Medivacs on the map for Fatal, and 5 on the map for RedArchon. All of RedArchons are extremely high in energy, whilst Fatals are about to run out. And these tanks have a really good position. The entire army of Fatals pushing in here. He's not tanking with any SCVs, so I don't see his army surviving. And there's the GG. RedArchon takes game 2, tying it up to 1-1. We'll see who wins the set in the next game.